What's up, guys? I wasn't going to make a video, but I realized not everyone gets posts or sees them, so I figured I'd make a small video, short video, hopefully, if I don't ramble. Anyways, where I've been the last 2 years is I was working a job that I really kind of hated. Summer of 23, it was just really unprofessional. I mean, I can't even begin to describe all this crap that went on there. Made me miserable. I was working 6 days a week, 55 hours a week, which that part doesn't bother me. It's just the BS I had to deal with every single day. So I left that job and I found something I like doing. So I have more time now to work on the layout. And the other part is the fact that I still don't know exactly what I want to do with the yard, but that doesn't matter right now. Because one of the big problems is at this end. So this is historically accurate with westbound classification, mainland down the middle, eastbound classification, and the roundhouse in the eastern part of the Altoona yards. But it's not real functional. It's kind of hard to reach the switches back there. It's not so bad for me, but if we have an operating session, some of the guys that like work in the yards, it's going to be hard for them to reach, and that's a pretty nasty curve right now. It's if I fit it in perfectly, it's barely 20-inch radius, which some of my bigger steam engines, actually all my steam engines can operate on those, but just barely. I'll have to lay the track perfect for it to work. So in the meantime, I can still run the main line. It'll still work the way I want it to, but I think for now, going to work on wiring because the layout it's going to be set up in blocks, so the yard will probably be its own block, and that's why it doesn't matter what I do with that right now. But Hollidaysburg over behind the furnace will be wired separate, probably, and most of the main line. But I also want to start working on some scenery, at least Horseshoe Curve. Horseshoe Curve is done. It works perfectly fine. I've never had any issues on it. And I already got most of the plaster cloth done. I've had it done for years now. Tyrone, I have to relay this track because this was the old Horseshoe Curve track, and I didn't want to throw it away. I wanted to use every piece of track I have, especially with how expensive it is. So I just have to relay the main line and the inner loop of Tyrone, and then I can do scenery on this area too. Because for the most part, so basically, I'm going to divide up the scenery because you're supposed to lay all the track first, get all the wiring done, but the vast majority of this layout is done. I'm going to have a ridge just out of foam right through here, so that it kind of separates Altoona and Tyrone. So basically, everything this side I can do scenery on, and same thing here. There'll probably be a little backdrop right here just to hide this, and this part of the curve will be covered, so you can really only see the trains when they're about here in the curve. If you're looking out here, you only see them when they get up to about there. So I can do scenery kind of in this back corner, get Tyrone operating flawlessly. There's still one switch at the paper mill I got a relay, I think. I actually have east staging kind of in an ugly area, but it should work pretty good. It's basically straight back. I used old snap track that just snaps together. It goes underneath the curve because there's really nowhere else to put it. And I don't want to make a bridge you got to duck under every time you want to work the paper mill, where it could go back behind there. There's enough room. Oh, by the way, the sump pump is back there, so we don't want to cover that up. Got to be able to get to that just in case. Now, with the yard, the big problem with the yard is it's not real functional laid out the way it is. It looks nice, but it's not all that functional. And my old yard plan, east and west classification was in the front. I think it was maybe summer or fall of 2021 when we changed that. I might go back to that, pushes the main line more to the back, arrival departure in front of that, and then I can also put the buildings behind that, which would look pretty good, and it'd be way easier having the whole yard in the front. But I'm not sure yet. I'm starting to lean towards that though. It's as I bump a car. There's a perfect example. I'm right now. You have to reach across. In fact, I can barely reach this track to uncouple cars, so it's one where maybe I just have some empty cars on the very last classification track, and just more for looks than anything. But again, I want to be able to switch some of those buildings. I got like steel mills and a couple, or not even steel mill, just a small couple little mills at the back of the yard that I want some traffic. So I want some extra switching to go on in the yard, because the yard is going to be pretty expansive. You got west classification, east classification. Empty coal trains will go back up to whatever I'm calling, I think South Fork maybe. So I also have to extend that again. That used to be staging and for Pittsburgh, and it will be staging again, but just along the wall. I might even hide it behind a backdrop, because the front is going to be some sort of little switching for a local train that can go up, pick up some cars, come back down. And then, of course, the coal mine goes behind the furnace above Hollidaysburg. So there's plenty of stuff to work on. But now, for the first time in well over 2 years, to maybe even 3 years, I have a lot more motivation and certainly a lot more enjoyment with this layout. So I didn't disappear forever. I know I've only posted like one video in the last 2 years, and maybe only 2 videos in the last like 3 or 4 years, but I don't think I'll have a video up anytime soon. Might be a couple months, because for now we're going to do some of the wiring on the main line and worry about the yard later. Or probably even do some simple wiring for the main line down the middle of the yard until I change it, just so we can run trains and test everything out. Oh, and then I am leaning towards, as cool as it would be to have the roundhouse there, historically accurate, and a nice engine yard there, I'm probably, if I switch up the yard, these yard tracks can move forward. So that leaves a nice triangle where I could have a nice engine yard right here going into the roundhouse. I'd probably have to curve off that, maybe add a little bit of an extension, but it'd be cool having the roundhouse there and an engine yard here, and I'll put piece of plexiglass in the front or something, so I don't knock off one of these, well, 400, what are they now, like $450 engines. And in the front, either I might have a section that comes out, and I put the station and some background buildings just kind of in the front, so that you can work either end of the yard, and the passenger train would come down the front track. Or if I do pull all the yard tracks to the front, I could put a passenger station in the back, or I can put it over here maybe. So I got a couple different options, but that's just somewhat, and it's going on 9 minutes almost, but somewhat of a short video with a small update. And I got a train show I'm going to tomorrow, for first time probably in like 4 or 5 years that I've gone to any train shows. And I hope to add to my freight car collection, maybe get another steam engine or two, a couple switchers if I can find some for at least cheaper than I can get them online. And I plan on being able to run the whole thing and have the yard done by summer. Everything else will be done before then, but I think it'll take me a while to figure out how I want to do the yard again. I might just go back and look at my old videos and follow a similar plan, because I liked it then. The thing is that the platform cut off about here, so I could only have a real short yard. Obviously, I don't have that problem now. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.